Awesome, Jacob. We are on. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show, and pleasure to bring Jacob over here. And he is a special guest for us in multiple ways. So, one is he's a neurodivergent career coach, where he's just going to tell us about how do you understand other people's requirement, and then we would be able to play better. That's one. And more than that, he also helps the special abilities people to find a job, which is really amazing. Even I am interested in learning a lot from him. And I was just looking at Jacob's LinkedIn profile, and he started his career as a starting as an intern, kind of a music side. Slowly he has just been into IT and played as a career coach again, and multiple roles he picked it up. Finally he spent time on special people as well. He made that as his passion. Now he just able to build that as a coaching for everybody to find a great job. So IT to career to music to everything he combines together, the content writing put together, he builds his own portfolio and then impacts the world in a different way. So thank you, Jacob, for being with us. It is pleasure and honor to bring you here and learn more about it, how we can create a journey for our community people to find their dream job. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Manjula.
Awesome, Jacob. So I am just last week we had a session. So there is specifically I was telling them hold on for this section, and we are just going to have an expert who's going to come and talk about it. I'm just going to just hold that piece. So now this week has just come to unravel those stories with you. To start with that, I know we you are going to talk about LinkedIn, but that's going to be my second segment to just talk about it. The first segment is I wanted to talk about how to prepare the resume. Everywhere we hear that a Canadian experience is needed, and we don't know what is the resume all about. So let's just start about the basic building blocks. What is the resume basic blocks we should be bothered about, and how do we create it, Jacob? Just go ahead from there.
Sure. So, the building blocks of a resume, I mean, you have your like bullet points of responsibility, you have your dates of employment. The top of the resume is pretty important too, where you have kind of like a summary section. Um, it's not the same as an objective. I think objective statements, honestly, are kind of dying out, especially with the past 3 years of the pandemic. So many people are pivoting, so they're changing. They're either upskilling or they're tapping into a different skill set entirely, or something that they've had as a hobby or something like that. But you have basically like your summary section on top, which basically is like a succinct 3 to 5 sentence paragraph of your skill set. The reason why this section is pretty powerful is because it's not in bullet point form. It's complete sentences, and it gives like a 30,000 foot overview of who you are, what your skill sets are. Um, and then in terms of your resume, you want your like bullet points to be actionable. So you want to say like, I performed X by doing Y, and the outcome was Z. Right? They use a star method that's pretty popular. I don't know if they do that in Canada as well, but it's much more like proactive rather than this is what I did. So one thing that could be great is include some quantitative data, in other words, numbers. Right? So if you perform some task, is there any metrics to back it up? Right? Like, did you increase revenue for the company by 13% in Q4? Right? That's much more measurable than just like stating this is what I did.
Awesome.
Uh, yeah. The resume, while it is important, in my opinion, it is a small piece of the puzzle. There are so many ways today to make yourself visible and marketable to thousands of people. In my opinion, a resume can't do that, because a resume is kind of like it's a document that sits like idle. It either sits on your desktop, which nobody can really view it except you, or even if you post it on a platform, like, yes, people can get to it, but in my experience, nobody can actually search for your resume on a platform like LinkedIn. People can search for you and people can search for your content by generic keywords, but like nobody can type in Jacob Levy's resume and it pops up on LinkedIn. So that's why, like, I don't believe a resume is the most important part of the job search. I believe it's just a small component.
Absolutely. So thanks for just briefing. I think that is, as I said, LinkedIn is a portfolio which I'm just going to dwell with it in detail about it, what we have just learned from you. So I'm just going to come back. But especially when the college students are going for a job in the college portal or anywhere, that becomes their starting point. Right, that's where they are just going to stay, that they're taking a piece of document. Yeah, I'm so and so and I'm applying for this job, I need an intern, I need a co-op, and I need a job. That's where they are just going to start the game. So when they just start the game, as you rightly said about it, objective is no longer is relative, because if they would have just started their career, maybe a first year, second year student. So the summary may be resonance with them, saying that, hey, as a second year student, I did a two intern, just to help me to just get to know about I was a coder to just develop a small app over here, or I was a therapist who was just doing a therapy for this kind of a patient. Some story will just rekindle even the employers to look at them, hey, yeah, they are talking sense.
So yes, I think college students, although they don't have typically don't have any professional experience, I think they have a large opportunity to take advantage of um, talking about the projects they've done in school. Talk about if you were an intern, um, you can create that in story form on LinkedIn, for example, or any platform for that matter. Talk about projects, but break it up into bite-sized pieces. Um, on a platform like LinkedIn or really any social media, but LinkedIn is my favorite because it seems to be or have the most business professionals. And the beauty of it is that you don't need to be connected to anyone to get found on a platform. As long like as soon as you touch a platform, meaning like, comment, share, create a post, etc., you are visible to essentially the entire globe on a platform. LinkedIn, the last I checked, had like beginning of 2020 had about 750 million people globally. However, I would say only about 10 to 12% of those people were active on the platform, which is still a very large number. So I would say for college graduates, or even if you're still in school, start building content around a brand. Like, start creating a brand. What does that mean? Start pushing out content that documents either your expertise or your learning journey. So for college students or graduates, it's probably going to be your learning journey. But that's fine. I mean, you can have plenty of content. If you're in school, you're constantly learning, but now you should document it. Document it on a platform that showcases what you're learning, because you're going to get way more traction, in my opinion, than clicking submit, X amount of times a day.
Agreed. I'm just going to, you're pulling me to talk about that now as a content to just
I know,
know more about it.
I
Thank you
know.
for
That's my thing.
yes, I agree, but yeah, that is interesting. Now, since we are just talking about it, Jacob, so two scenario use case, I'll just give you one. As students set A who are comfortable in talking or creating and telling about what they are just doing. The second set of people, B, where they are only will be able to do, they're not that socially connected to do anything and talk about it. So is there any hacks for them to just put their mind saying that, hey, this is needed, this is going to be the important piece, and if they understand, what could be the hack for them to start a small way?
Great question. And what I'm saying is something that worked for me and my clients, but everybody's different, right? We have introverts, extroverts, people with different abilities. So I agree. Start small. One way to start small is you can just start engaging on other people's content. if you engage on other people's content, like simply make comments, right? Don't just say like, great job, or this is a really interesting article. LinkedIn is a platform where, in my opinion, you have to give to the platform if you want to receive. So what I mean by that is like, don't just say great job, thumbs up. That doesn't work. You want to give to the platform, like give your value, give your knowledge. So when you leave a comment, actually show you know what you're talking about, right? Like, wow, this is a really great article. I really like what you said about X, Y, and Z because according to blah, 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 right? Insert your knowledge into comments. That is very powerful because people do read comments. Even if it's a whole chain of comments, like you would be surprised. People come out of the woodworks, they read comments, they they will DM people on the back end. They don't even know who you are, but they'll be like, wow, I saw your comment on that post from last week that was really insightful. Can we have a conversation offline, right? So it's kind of like you never know who's reading your material. It is public, like it's public content, so you really never know who's reading it. And also comments and posts never actually disappear. They might get archived, but they are forever searchable on a platform, and they can always be found.
Lovely, good insight to just know about it. Where you don't need to create a content, and you can start with someone's content and then start a small story behind that. That was very powerful. And also, you have just shared that rather than just saying a good job, you like it, just go furthermore a couple of lines to know about it. But to do that, students should be start picking up their own comfort zone of what is they are good in that content. If they are computer students, probably a content on coding, programming language, da 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 would be a interesting content for them. And even for that, they should start upgrading themselves, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things you can do. If they're like, let's say a computer programming software engineer student, you can actually, there's a lot of things that you can do. You can search by job title and click on the people filter, and it'll literally siphon out probably thousands of people. Like if you did software engineer and you click people, it'll siphon out every single person that has software engineer as a job title in their profile. Then you can go into their content. You do not have to be connected to them to view their content. Most profiles are public. So you can go into their activity section, view their content. I would imagine it would be about, around IT stuff, software development, etc., and engage on their content. The beauty of it is LinkedIn notifies them. Like the person gets a notification from you, the commenter, but also they typically get an email from LinkedIn, right? Which that's what we're talking about, that like brand equity. LinkedIn is like a $1 billion brand, and it's very powerful when the branding is coming from LinkedIn, not just the person who commented. So that's a really powerful strategy to engage with people, get their attention, etc.
Awesome. That's a good strategy. So you just go to the job search of what job you're looking for and then filter it by the people. That gives you a set of people, and then just browse through that their content and then start consuming it. Then you get an idea, and then you just start building your own content based on 4 5 articles what you have just read about it. All right.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah, like you said, as you said, start small.
yeah.
Piggyback off of other people's content, right? Like engage on other. If like I have writer's block. I'm a terrible writer, but I've become very good at short form content. Like I'm not writing essays here. I'm writing very small posts, and engaging in the comments, and that can up your visibility like 3, 5, 10x. It's very powerful, very powerful.
True, I completely resonate with you. And even if you don't know how to write that content, nowadays the chat GPT is coming in your handy way to just make that easy.
Yeah, Chat
Right.
GPT. Um, I am helping a client. So I started using Chat GPT, not taking the content verbatim, but I'm using it as a framework So I'm working with a client that has cerebral palsy, right? He has a lot of difficulty writing, but he's a brilliant guy. Um, so I am helping him frame the content. He gives me the topics, and I will, I'll go into Chat GPT, create a framework, put it in a spreadsheet, send it back to him, and then it's much easier to edit content than start from scratch. Much easier to edit content. So we'll create like a framework, and we created like a really good rhythm, So I
Absolutely.
mean, you touched on a major topic with AI. I think AI is inevitable. Like nobody can really stop it. It's coming. It's here. But I think you have to learn to harness AI. Like don't shy away from it. Use it as a tool. It's like just another tool in your toolbox of learning. Use it to your advantage. Use it as like in the disability world. I mean, use it as an accommodation, right? It can be very powerful when used efficiently.
Right, you're right, right. It is a tool for us to make our life simplified rather than thinking it is overwhelming, right? The perception changes the moment we see it is a enabler for us to do the work. So I was just hearing from you where you're just helping a client to use the chat GPT as a framework to just put it in an Excel. So for me, it looks like you've created a playbook for somebody who are looking for a job where they can just maneuver and saying that this is step one, step two, step three. Repeat that continuously till you just establish. Is it something like that as a framework you're talking about?
It really depends how you frame the question to Chat GPT. So you could say, like, act as a insert job title here and do this for me. And it'll literally like it'll become that software engineer. It'll become that whatever job title. And it'll sort of start to speak in that rhetoric. So I'm still learning about it. There's a lot of great content on TikTok actually to like learn how to type in prompts for Chat GPT. But yeah, I mean, you really just have to. It's like coding, right? You have to give it basic commands. Don't be too technical or be too, I'm still experimenting with it, to be honest. But it's a lot of fun, and I think the one thing I learned about it is like don't don't take like if you're looking for an answer to something, don't just copy paste it because it's not perfect. They say it like the home screen. It says like we're not perfect. We were only updated to a certain date and time. So like you still have to proofread things.
Right. Yeah, that's right. It's not so perfect, but at least it gives a base idea where you can tweak and then make your fine-tuned content. So that
Yeah.
way it just be helpful. So Jacob, let's just move on from the resume section where we started. If we are able to put it as a summary and the skill in a actionable format, what did we do with a quantifiable way to provide the metrics or the process? That's the one enabler what we understood. So now once we have just done that, the second thought process comes to the typically students who comes is still I am too far for getting the job, I'm too far for getting my paid internship or something like that. So how do they just go about to find their career oriented volunteer jobs to add value to the co-ops or the jobs what they are looking for?
I mean, start. I know, I know we just talked about this, but it starts with like you have to like. I would go back to start creating content. Like push out a single post. It can be an introductory post like, hi, my name's Jacob Levy, I'm a recent graduate of blah blah blah. I studied arts management. You can say what you're looking for. um, Even mention a project that you worked on. And I'm not just saying this as like create a generic post. The reason I'm saying this because every word in a post is searchable by anyone in the world. And I'm saying that very slow because a lot of people don't realize that. Hence, a lot of people don't create content. You, as soon as you touch the platform, you are searchable. Like you can be found by anyone. So that's why I think content is so powerful, because you're in control of what you write. When you make comments on someone else's post, it narrows the lens a little bit because you're engaging on a specific topic. But when you create content, you can make a post about whatever you want. So that's very empowering. I know that people have writer's block and they don't like to write and blah blah blah. There are many different mediums. You can write. You can do audio, video, memes, do a blog, do a podcast. Um, you can literally make a video, and then you have one piece of content, and you can strip the audio, and you can make another piece of content. You could take a 10-minute video, you could chop it up into 5 2-minute pieces, or you could chop it up into 10 1-minute pieces. What I'm trying to say is, like, there's so many different ways to repurpose content, to make for more content.
Agree. So I understand as a marketing perspective, or since you are the specialist, you are able to do that. What if the students feels it is overwhelming for them? Is there any hacks or tools where we can tell them, hey, like how we are talking about chat GPT, Canva is one of the great tool, I would say, right, where they can just go and put the content. They don't need to think anything. They have to choose what social media they're going to do that. It gives a template, it gives a sample, and they have to just put it in a smaller way, and it also publishes to them. Is there something like that? Can you just share some of the resources or tools to make them to feel it's not overwhelming, it is easy for you to do that?
Sure. So before I share some tools, think of it like this: treat LinkedIn like a digital diary, right? Let's say I'm a graduated software engineer. I would treat it like a diary. Day one in the life of a software engineer, right? Even if you're not employed, doesn't matter, right? Talk about your process, what you do as a software engineer. I have no idea what databases are and backend, Java, C++, like all that, but the student does because they just went through X amount of years of study, right? So treat it like, this is just one idea, treat it like a digital diary. Another idea, make your own news channel. Make your own news channel. Like, they have like ESPN sports channel. This is how you create a brand, right? Make it your own. Um, you want to have some like enthusiasm behind it, so you can get creative. ChatGPT is great. Another one is Jasper AI, where you can actually create your own voice. Like, you can tell the application to be like, it says literally like, what kind of tone of voice do you want? Comedic? Do you want serious? Do you want depressing? Like, whatever you want. That's another tool. I think there's a fee, like a monthly fee to it. Canva's great because it is free. There are so many templates on Canva. You don't have to be a graphic designer. Like, it's very like drag and drop. You know, I love that I can do it on my phone. I don't have to like get my laptop and do this whole thing. You just pop your phone up and you can save templates right to your phone, upload it right to LinkedIn. Um, and that's all, like I said, that all goes back to like, you're starting a brand for yourself. You don't need like all this production value craziness. I would say the hardest part, Manjula, is just starting. That's the hardest part. So I always suggest just start with an intro post about who you are, what you do, what you want to do, and that's going to get some visibility, because what I explain to job seekers is LinkedIn is a 24-hour Google search, right? As soon as you touch the platform and you create a post based on, I'm a software engineer, blah, 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 you're inserting keywords, automatically you're going to get found. Automatically. Why? Because you are inserting keywords that hiring managers are searching for 24 hours a day. If you type in like database and software engineer, even cities or certifications you put in your post, you're searchable, like 100%. Because hiring managers, they don't need your resume to find you. They have a job description and they're typing in generic keywords. That is what they're typing in, right? It's not necessary. They're not typing in Jacob Levy, right? They're typing in keywords based on the candidates in which they are seeking.
Right. So that's where I wanted to ask, and you just gave a partial answer of why are we asking them to do it on a LinkedIn to create more visibility. And you also said that when the recruiters comes, they are just going to put the job description and looking at that. So that time when they put the city, when they put the relevant keyword, if you have a content, it also just pops your data for them to get the visibility to put you into the pipeline of what we are looking for, isn't it?
So yeah, content or your profile. So they can either your content can pop up with and you because you have those keywords, or your profile pops up because of those keywords. The problem
Right.
is people just rely on their profile, but you only have one profile. You can have endless pieces of content. That's, in my
Okay.
opinion, that's way more powerful than a resume, because a resume is just 1-to-1 ratio. And if you submit a resume to a company, only the company can see it. They can search for it. It sits in their database, for example. But LinkedIn, you make one post and you could like feasibly be visible to the whole world on LinkedIn. You're searchable to the entire world. Unless you change your settings that are like super private, then why are you on LinkedIn?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got it. So understand. So what we are just talking about is one is the profile what you get, but the content is multiple. So that gives a correlations of pulling you in a better way about it. So now it is time for us to know that that's your portfolio as well. You help anybody who looking for a dream career to just land it over there. Can you share some of the good case study or a success story where they were just started with nowhere and your service helped them to land somewhere of their dream job? If yes, what is the exact process by you and by them joined together created that success?
Sure. So I had uh, a colleague on LinkedIn reached out, a neurodivergent colleague, and her friend just got laid off in December. It was like the worst time to get laid off. And so I started working with her like end of December. Um, and she was looking for like an SEO specialist kind of role, search engine optimization. Um, and we just started like what I always like to do is like get some background information. You know, what are you seeking? Obviously, what's your experience? Let's take a look at your resume. Um, the most important thing that I do with everybody is LinkedIn education. I can't stress that enough. Like, yes, we get to marketing yourself and blah blah blah, but like, there's the old adage, you can, um, oh, I totally forgot. You know, teach a like teach a man to fish and he fishes and he can fish forever. um, I'm trying to teach people how to fish, basically, right? I can fish for you, but I think it's much more of a valuable skill if you can fish for yourself, because then you have the skill forever. So I definitely do like LinkedIn masterclasses. We do like a high level overview of your profile, keywords, targeting decision makers, creating content based on your expertise. And then we get a little bit deeper like into the algorithm and how you can kind of manipulate it to find anything you want. This platform is very powerful. It's just most people like don't know how to use it, to no fault of their own, because there's no user manual, right? It's just a platform that they put that every platform gets pushed out, and then there's constant updates and bug fixes. Um, so when I'm working with a client, initially I'll do um, like a 60-minute masterclass, and then because everything's virtual, it consists of online support like 7 days a week. We have weekly check-in calls, usually the beginning of the week, just to create like a high-level plan of who we're targeting. I like to look at it from a high level, so not job titles per se, but more companies. When you target a company, you can get a lot more traction, because many jobs are never posted to the public. I'll say that again. Many jobs are never posted to the public because typically they're trying to hire internally. It's cheaper and faster. They can send one email company wide and get some responses. They're done interviewing in a couple weeks. Um, and then they also typically, you don't have to go to a third party staffing firm. So I'm a big fan of targeting companies from a high level. And when I say targeting, I mean target like decision making entities. CEO, HR, talent acquisition, VPs, managers, directors, they all in one way or another have hiring power to quote unquote like move the needle to hire a candidate.
Great. So,
Uh,
so that just gives, yeah, please go ahead,
oh
Jacob.
no, I
Please
was
go
just gonna
ahead.
say, so yeah, the candidate I was working with got a little off track. Um, we so we got her all set up. I made her marketing templates based on her job title, and I basically was just like teaching her how to find roles outside her network. In my opinion, that is the most important thing to do because your news feed, like you can have 100 people in your network, right? But you could see thousands of posts because every time one person in your network likes, comments, or shares a post, it becomes visible in your network. So it extrapolates, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The problem is if you see a job post in your newsfeed, that's great because somebody liked it or whatever. But that's defense. In other words, that takes forever. That means you're playing the waiting game. So what you want to do is go on offense. You want to seek out these decision makers that are pushing out these job posts. Decision makers, they put up job posts all the time. It's just you and I don't always see them because they're not in our network. So there is a way that you can proactively seek out these opportunities constantly. You don't have to wait. So that's what I teach people how to do.
Right. True. So I did see, I'm sorry, there is a background noise if you're just able,
That's
if you're
okay.
sorry.
I got kids in the background. Like it's fine.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So I did see your offense and the defense strategy, what you are talking about in your portal, just to give it in a master class part of it. I appreciate the thought process. You don't need to be defensive. Just go on the offensive mode to just go and find the people and understand and network and do that. I think the more and more you build the practice, it becomes a way of life for you to just grow faster in the career rather than someone is just coming and then helping you actively go and then seek and then keep moving forward. That was a wonderful strategy what you are created and then sharing it about it, Jacob. That was nice.
Thank you. And it all goes back to like giving to the platform, right? Whether you're commenting, whether you're creating content, like it's so important to give to this platform. Even if you're right out of college, even if you're a fresher right out of college, show what you know, right? What's your learning journey? What are you working on, right? This is all giving. You might not think it's, the student might not think it's very valuable, but you might be opening up somebody's eyes because you're looking at it in a different mindset. So that's the way I see it. And the reason I say giving and it's not, you want to give and not take or ask for something. Taking or for asking something is going to a job post and saying, "Hey, my name's Jacob. Here's my resume. I need a job." That's taking or asking for something. But there's 100 other candidates. So what do you bring to the table, right? That will like raise the hiring manager's eyebrows. You have to show that because we live in like a virtual world. You got to show that in content form.
Right. Right. I'm just coming over here. Yes. So now that we have just spoken about the, wait a minute, let me just bring over. Yeah. Now that we have just spoken about the different strategies to be applied over there, what if they don't see the success at all? So what else? So they've just gone ahead, given the post, and they don't see the response. And that is where the younger generation, the college students, wanted to see. I did, but no response is coming up. How do we just pep them up or give them the continuous hacks to keep on the mode?
So you're not gonna. It's like there's the saying like Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Like you're not gonna see. I don't think you're gonna see like crazy traction in 24 hours, right? As a college student, for example, um, you have to, it's like a muscle. You have to exercise that muscle to see results, right? You go to the gym one day, you're not going to really see any results. You have to do it um, repetitiously. Another thing you can do is like use different platforms, right? You have to kind of, it's like A B testing. You have to test the market, you have to see where your audience lies. LinkedIn is my favorite, but with the younger generation, I mean, TikTok is massive. I mean, I understand what you said earlier about, people aren't comfortable creating content. That's fine. You could still engage on other people's content, right? Short form commenting, get on people's radars, and you can still add value via commenting. TikTok is very popular. There are employers on there. Another one is Clubhouse. Clubhouse is great too. It's 100% audio only. You basically go into a room based on your interest. You could type in whatever you want in the search bar. There's no content. All you have is a profile. And you go into a room. For example, you can type in like software engineers, and there's a club based on all software engineers. And you can either go into a room to listen and you can raise your hand to speak, or you can create your own room within the club based on whatever topic you want. And it will attract those people that are software engineers, even hiring managers, um, because they're looking at the title of the room. And just like LinkedIn, it is searchable by keyword. But like I said, all you have on Clubhouse is your profile. It's not content based. It's just a profile. But that's powerful too.
True. Exactly. So it just not, they don't need to stuck with the LinkedIn and then figure it out. They have multiple ways of reaching, depends on the professions, what they belong to, and then try. And they can also do the similar kind of a strategy inside their college as well, maybe a clubs or the groups or even a Discord. There is a multiple ways of hangout. Wherever they find a place to hang out, they can look at the strategies to just get connected. But I agree with you. But one of the input where I was just getting from the student is when I go to the Discord, when I go to my hangout group, it's kind of a friends group, right? It is not nice or fair for us to go and talk about among our friends group. I am looking one time I can do, but how do I do that is a multiple time was a question.
Well, Discord and, Slack and all that, that's great for like communicating, but in my opinion, it's not great for marketing yourself. Because once you post like this is who I am, what I'm looking for, then it gets lost in the shuffle. Like it's just a constant feed, right? But LinkedIn, for example, you can create a post and it's forever searchable by employers. Like I don't know how many, I'm sure there are employers on Slack and this and that, but Slack and Discord, you have to be in I believe you have to be in a specific room to see somebody's chat. You know what I mean? It's like I I think it's a lot more personal, like Slack and Discord, but I don't think it's an optimal hiring or job seeking tool. I think it's more like, yeah, you can chat with a bunch of people to get feedback, etc., and network, of course. But I like LinkedIn because you can create content. Like, for example, if you're a software engineer and you have a portfolio or a programmer, um, I think it's way more powerful to post content based off your portfolio on LinkedIn because it will sit there and it's searchable by keywords. Like if you do a quick synopsis of the project you created and created a post about it, I would not put the URL. First of all, URLs are not they're not user friendly really on LinkedIn. Like the algorithm basically like doesn't read URLs, so you don't get as much traction on your post. But I would chop up your portfolio and put pieces of it per post. I think that's a better strategy.
True, that's true. So now you keep talking about a LinkedIn algorithm. So if we wanted to know more about it, can you just give a top five things we should keep it in mind when we are working on LinkedIn to make sure we are in the right track? What is that algorithm topics we should also be aware of it?
Um, I'll think as many as I can. I don't know if I can give five, but okay. Here's a high level overview. Look at the algorithm like a Google search. So you
Okay.
know when you go to Google and you type in like a restaurant, it will populate all the locations in your area with that restaurant. You could type in a restaurant in like a zip code. Well, LinkedIn is very similar, but nobody's looking for restaurants. They're looking for opportunity, or hiring managers are looking for candidates. So they will, instead of typing in the name, they'll type in, software engineer Chicago or software engineer Ontario. Okay. And candidates pop up. You can do the flip side for a job seeker. You can type in a job title, a city, and the word hiring, and it'll literally reverse engineer the search to seek out those hiring managers that are posting those jobs. It's very powerful. I will continue to preach that. It's very powerful. You can search for things on job boards, absolutely, but you can't communicate directly immediately with a hiring manager on a job board. That's the difference.
Right. So once we just get this search algorithm which throws this hiring option and it just gives the hiring manager, and we get to know about the kind of a job post they are looking for, which they are planning to hire, and when they just click that, that's just going to give a curiosity or even a job description to know the skills and the kind of responsibility what they need to just do about it. And based on that, if they start analyzing it, probably they can churn out the post which can create the visibility to get the match of it. Is that what we're trying to do that? You're on mute. You're on mute, I think.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. But one thing you said about analyzing, don't overanalyze it. I mean, when you're looking for I think it's the same in Canada or even in India. When you're looking for something on Google, it's pretty basic, right? Like keywords. You just type in keywords, right? A restaurant, a city, or whatever. So don't overanalyze it. Um, because when you do, that's when you get like writer's block and like paralysis analysis, and then you don't write anything, right? That's the biggest reason why people don't create content, because they're constantly editing the post. They're like, oh, I don't like this. This is terrible. I blah, 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 blah. Just put it out to the world. This is not school. You don't get penalized. I mean, in some ways you do with LinkedIn. It depends what you write, but just, you want to be mindful of your audience. Like, who's your target market? That's who you want to write to, right? Talk about your expertise, talk about your learning journey. Those are the two best suggestions I can give is document your expertise in small pieces. If you're a recent graduate, talk about your learning journey in school, right? Break it up into, like, take a syllabus of a class for software development, for example, and break it up in little chunks, but treat it like it's your journal, like a journal entry or a diary. Day one, as what I learned as a software engineer. Today we worked on databases and we had to X, Y, and Z and blah 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 and learn about JavaScript and whatever. um, that's going to get you more visible because hiring managers, they're searching by those keywords. They're not searching by your name if you're fresh out of college.
Agreed. Yeah. So absolutely makes sense, Jacob, where we are just talking about it. Build your content one after another, slowly and a small way, and finally we will be able to find our dream job. But I wanted to just understand more about your specialty. Your focus is also help them, the special people, also to find the job. That's what I understood. So wanted to hear more from you. How does that different from the regular one? What is that challenges you overcome, or what are the challenges you help them to overcome by the candidate who are coming with that need?
Hopefully we have enough time. That's a great question. It's a loaded question. It's a great question. So I approach it a little bit differently. What I do is something like, it's called an interest inventory. where it's a term in special education. So I'll use things like, um, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your hobbies, likes, dislikes, etc.? It's just a basic interest inventory. And that's going to help me guide them. Another thing that I work on is like, what is your preferred learning style, right? Are you auditory? You have to hear it. Are you visual? You got to see it. Tactile, kinesthetic. We physically need to like grasp something to acquire that knowledge. So it's not that much different. It's really just like I'm accommodating that person based on their learning preferences, their learning style, their strengths, um, things like that. Me personally, I grew up with a learning disability due to hydrocephalus at birth. Hydrocephalus is essentially a brain hemorrhage. So I definitely had my own learning challenges with like memory recall, things like that. So I am very passionate about this group based on my own experiences. I mean, I help all job seekers. I do not discriminate. But my passion, my niche is helping, neurodivergent job seekers, people with different abilities, disabilities. I mean, there's a million different synonyms for it, but that is that's my passion.
Awesome. So that just gives a clarity for us, because I purposely wanted to ask this in the end so that the audience will get to know about your specialty and stays with them, so that they will just get connect with you. So that's the purpose why I just pushed this question to you to understand more about it. So now that we just spoke about in length of how they need to be find their dream jobs part of it, if they wanted to connect, what are all the ways to connect with you, Jacob, so that audience can connect with you?
Well, I would hope it's obvious by now. LinkedIn. Um, LinkedIn is anybody can find me on LinkedIn. Um, you can find me on, I mean, you can email me, jacobAlevy@gmail.com. I'm on many of the platforms, but I kind of like dwell on LinkedIn. I reside on LinkedIn. um, you can connect with me on WhatsApp. My number is on my profile. So yeah, feel free to connect.
Absolutely. So that's the great way of connecting with you and then taking forward, because the kind of a help you just help the job aspirants is really profound, and then helping them to just get their dream career. And I'm sure our audience also will find the value in reaching out to you. And thanks for just spending your time with us. And before you just going, any inspiring message for our community to make going about what's their dream search job?
So yeah, the message that I have, it's kind of catered to the disability community. So this is my own quote. I've gotten plenty of backlash for it, but it's mine, so I'm sticking to it. What I believe as a person with an invisible disability, a disability is not an inability to do something. I believe it is an opportunity to go a different direction to arrive at a solution. And it's on that path where novel and innovative ideas exist. In other words, just because you're having trouble with something doesn't mean there is not a solution to it.
True, absolutely. It resonates with everybody, because everybody just gets stuck up saying that, hey, I got a problem, I don't know how to go about. So every problem has a solution. In fact, if you think you just got the problem, it's just not a problem. It's an opportunity for you to find a new way of just figuring it out. And people like you are around us to even more guide and hold our hands and then take it forward to the next level. Thank you, Jacob, for just doing your wonderful journey for everybody, and looking forward to just bring you in another session soon. Thanks for just being with us. Have a good day. Take care.
Thanks so much, Angela.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye bye. Have a good day.